Okay, if you got beliefs, good for you. I don't need to know.
Repeal 377A, I would say it's a step forward and two steps to the side.
Hello, welcome to SG Now. I'm Sharda Harrison. So good to be back in the studio as always. With me today we have CityJo Dharmhik.
Present.
Tick. Looking very handsome in that nice floral shirt. Really
Thank
love
you.
it. And next to him we have Rish. Now Rish, you're a young musician.
Yes, I
And
am.
you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yes, that
Right?
is true, yeah.
How long have you been a musician for?
How long have I? Well, I started singing when I was 7, since I was in primary school. So built up from there. Like it was
Wow.
choir, band, a cappella, and then
And you just always loved
music. Yeah, that's the passion.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we're here today because in November, Section 377A of the Penal Code was repealed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm personally very happy about that.
Aren't we all?
Yes. So we really want to talk about what life has been for the LGBTQ plus community since, and what are some of the challenges that you may have experienced probably before or since. But let's just talk about Section 377A. What was life like for you living with this law at the time before it got repealed?
Well, because with the law being there, it's straight up like, oh, you aren't allowed to be who you are in the first place, because it's up there, right, in the law.
Yeah.
And even though they say, oh, it's not actively enforced,
Yeah.
it's there. And I'm a Singaporean citizen, so it's there literally. It's like you don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it was hard, because even though the the newer generations and a lot of people are more accepting and all that, it's hard because knowing that your own country has such a law like that, so
Yeah.
it's kind of painful, because I do love Singapore and generally, yeah.
Of course, and I'm sure we all do. Dharmhik, what are your thoughts on, Section 377A? Well, at least before it got repealed, what were your thoughts about it? Non-heterosexuals or queers being sort of like illegal or criminalized in our own country.
Okay, personally, it doesn't affect me, right? But at the same time, it's kind of sad because what happens is that I feel like older generations, they're more old-fashioned. They will tend to say, oh, you cannot be this, you cannot be that, right? And when you ask them why not, they'll say, oh, it's written in the law. What are you going to do about it? It's a perfect defense for them, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was really unfair because, as he said, right, you couldn't be yourself. And for that to be instated and people can just say, oh, the laws is so too bad for you. It's a really shit way of living, you know what I mean?
What does this repeal mean for you personally, Rish?
Personally, I would say it's somewhat of a huge step forward, because I remember when it was a few years ago, and every year they would apply, like lawyers would apply to get it repealed, and it was getting rejected every single day, like every single year. But then finally it was like, oh, I remember when I saw the live when the PM said they will repeal. I was at a LGBTQ friendly bar, and it was just full on raws, and everyone was ballistic. Because everyone knew that the speech was gonna happen, and that everyone tuned in. Every single person was on the phone. It went dead silent, and then when he said, it was just like raws everywhere.
So it was like the equivalent of World Cup lah.
Yeah, yes, probably yes. But it was really like, wow. I was sort of emotional.
Yeah.
I can straight up say I was quite emotional.
What kind of emotions were coming up?
I was like, oh wow, this is big. Like, I don't have to worry about, if I go on a date, I don't have to worry about holding someone's hand and walking around. Even though I didn't care before, it was more like, I really don't have to care anymore.
Right.
You know?
So the uproar, was it joyous?
Yeah.
Joyous. Was it joyous?
Yes, it was joyous, it was happy, it was sad, and then there were drag queens also, and then yes, exactly. everything was just up there.
I love
It's like
it.
everyone went to the moon at that point.
Hearing that, people got so happy, they celebrated, it is important, right? Because it is, what's the word? I'll say it's like, it's finally getting the spotlight. You say, they do exist, and the government is going like, we shouldn't discriminate against them, shouldn't set them apart. And that's really good, right? Why wouldn't anyone be happy about it? I mean,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't affect you, it can affect someone close to you.
Yeah.
And as long as the people around you are happy, you should be happy, right? That's how I see it. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Rish, you were saying something about like, now I can finally hold, another man's hand in public.
Yeah.
So, in Section 377A, did you ever feel threatened by it, by the law?
When you look at the law, it criminalizes gay sex between men. So me seeing another guy, if let's say, me and another guy sitting at the park, someone calls a complaint, I don't know what's going to happen after that, right?
Yeah.
If the law is still going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I've met many policemen that are very nice. I've been in SPF before also.
That's right.
So I understand a lot of them are very nice and are very understanding. So they don't, but then again, the law is still there.
Yeah.
So it just,
It just heightens everything. It doesn't exactly make you feel like an equal and free citizen of Singapore.
I'll say, yes, exactly that.
But I actually have a question, right?
Go for it.
What is how do you say that dating has been like in Singapore, maybe before and after? Like, do you think there's a huge change in the dating scene for you?
For me personally, I'm thinking, when was the last time when I did? No, I'm just I wouldn't say it's a huge difference, but it is a difference because I can safely say a lot more people are more comfortable going out on dates and like exploring themselves a bit more comfortable than they were, because I knew a few people that weren't really like comfortable. They would go out with partners, but they were very discreet about it. Then I think after repeal, quite a few of them were more open.
Yeah. I mean, they're all different. There's so many different kinds of laws, belief systems, religion. But here we're talking about, our country's law, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, just to have that lifted off must really kind of allow for some people to just feel that relief and be a little bit more open. But it doesn't really entirely solve a global...
Yep.
I think, the LGBTQ plus community still feels this kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but slight discomfort. Do you think that the repeal was overdue?
Very much so.
How
100%.
many years?
Since the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. I would, many years, I would say very long, because it's not like LGBTQ plus people were just here for the past few years. No, we have been around since the longest time. And imagine back then, it would actually be so discreet, because one wrong move and what you can...
Yeah.
So I feel like it's long overdue.
Yeah. And what do you think tipped that balance?
Back then, it was a bit more quieter, so people didn't really have that courage to come forth. But because I think recently when the repeal started, everyone just was like, enough is enough.
Yeah.
That's why the lawyers, bless them, bless the legal team, and bless everyone who was fighting to repeal it, really fought through the long years.
Yeah.
Because when they really said enough is enough, and came all the way to now where we are.
All right, so that wraps up section 1 of our 3-part video for you, talking about the repeal and what it really means for Rish and Dharmhik. We're going to go into part 2 now, where we really have a chat with Rish about what it means to be queer growing up in Singapore. Check it out.